Buffalo Trace has become one of the most legendary whiskeys on the market today. But is it still good in 2025? Is it still worth it? That's what we want to find out today. My first experience with Buffalo Trace was probably 8 years ago. Good friend of mine, CJ, he was a big fan. He brought it to my attention. And at that time, I was just still a Jack Daniels drinker. My favorite pour was their Holiday Select. I think those started around 2011. Um, and that's what I would look forward to. Every Christmas, they came out with a new one for about a 4 year period. And to me, those were kind of like the best of the best whiskeys that I had had. And my normal drink was a Jack Daniels on the rocks. Um, Dabbled in some other bourbons, drank a lot of them on the rocks. Some neat. Um, was getting big into Scotch, and those I would drink neat. And that's kind of how my real whiskey journey started, was going down the Scotch roads. So when my buddy CJ brought this bottle to my attention, it was something new. It was sweeter than any other whiskeys I had at that point, but a natural sweetness. I didn't know what type of sweetness at the time. In my head, I was just like, oh, this is sweet. Looking back now, it's fruity. That's why I liked it. It was a fruitier bourbon than any of the other ones on the market that I had tried at the time. And then it kind of took the whiskey world by storm. In recent times, these have been very difficult to find for people in their liquor stores in their area. I grew up in a state that had state stores. In those stores, you could find them sometimes. Sometimes you couldn't. You had to know which days it was being delivered. That's kind of crazy for a bottle that has a suggested retail price of around $27. Obviously, a lot of hype involved, but there has to be some good whiskey that goes along with that hype, you'd think. So let's see if the hype is still there. It's still worth it. $27 is a pretty low price point. Spilled some on the table. My apologies. $27 is a pretty low price point for bourbon, especially these days. I don't know how long it's going to last, as I've heard a lot of their other products have been going up in price. Elmer T. Lee, I think, is doubling their price. But as far as I know, Buffalo Trace is still a $27 bottle. Hopefully it stays at that point. It smells great. I mean, this is the same Buffalo Trace. If you ask me if the profile had changed at all in the last 10 years on this bottle, or 7 years, whatever it's been since I first tried it, I would say now it seems very similar to what I've always gotten from this product. And that sweetness, it's a little grapey, a little grape Laffy Taffy because of that candied sweetness. Him and I, at one point, decided to do a tasting of this along with 8 or so other whiskeys, because he believes strongly that this is the best bourbon in that price range on the market. We want to know for sure. That's probably the first blind I ever did with whiskey. Was this versus normal Woodford, Knob Creek, Larceny, regular Maker's Mark. There's a few others in there. We were rookies, but Buffalo Trace came on top for him. Regular Larceny came on top for me of a small batch. I'm pretty sure that's just because of the sweetness at the time. I remember arguing that sweetness was the key factor in what made a whiskey good, not the flavor profile itself. But I'm guessing this would still win against most of those bottles today. Let's give it a taste. The nose is there, like I said, grape Laffy Taffy. I would say white sugar, not quite brown sugar, not quite caramel. It's very pleasant. No funk. Just pure kind of grape candy. That grape candy transfers on the palate a little bit. It's not quite as bright as it is on the nose. You get a little bit more alcohol on the palate. You actually do get a little bit of caramel on there. Wouldn't say brown sugar, a little bit of caramel. Maybe a little anise. Tiny bit. Baking spices, tiny bit. Vanilla, cherry. It's what you come to expect with the Buffalo Trace. And the point I wanted to make with this video is this has been a great option for people for nearly a decade, probably more, at this price point, and it hasn't gone up. I've already heard those rumblings about other Buffalo Trace products going up in price, and I think it's probably good for the market. These are being sold on secondary, as well as all the rest of their products for whatever the markups are. And is it fair that stores are reaping those profits as opposed to Buffalo Trace itself? I don't think so. If consumers are saying that they would pay $40 for this bottle, and Buffalo Trace charges $27, and therefore stores are making an extra $13 on top, I don't think they deserve it as much as Buffalo Trace Distillery does itself. Now, I don't know if I'd personally pay $40 for this bottle. I sure wouldn't pay $50. But $30, it's a pretty great value. I could see 35 for it, for sure. If you've never tried Buffalo Trace, you should. And if you haven't, and you do, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. And if you love Buffalo Trace or you hate Buffalo Trace, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are, especially at this price point. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Take all the help I can get in growing this channel. Again, I'm Jim with Pour the Juice. Cheers.